Thank you for coming. This is the 36th coffee lecture series coming from the ETH Chemistry, Biology, Pharmacy Information Center. I'm Gina Cannarozzi, and today I'm going to talk about NotebookLM. Okay, or not. Okay, so what is NotebookLM? It's a tool of Google, and it's an AI-powered tool that summarizes large volumes of user information. So you put in your own information. And the nice thing, it's not a general purpose LLM like ChatGPT. It's a tool that uses only your sources. And this restriction to user input in these limited sources reduces hallucinations in the LLM a lot. And every answer you have comes with citations to your own sources. So that's the input is 50 sources that you choose, and the output is a chatbot that allows you to interact with your content as well as a lot of other things. Okay, So when we talk about NotebookLM, an important topic is privacy. There's a lot of different versions here. There's the free version. In the free version, the data goes everywhere. They say on their front page that they won't use it to train the LLM or the LLM models. Human reviewers may look at the interactions in some circumstances, and here you have 50 sources. If you pay for the pro version, you can input 300 sources, and I found 50 to be a limitation. And there you get additional privacy and security. What we have at ETH is the NotebookLM Enterprise, and it is compliant with ETH privacy and security directives. So this is the one you should use with your confidential data, or if you take PDFs from the ETH library. And here the data stays in the ETH cloud. Unfortunately, it's also limited to 50 sources, but 50 is a lot. Okay, so using AI at ETH, you should have the overview that ETH licenses protected data spaces for Microsoft Copilot. This comes with the Microsoft 365 cloud subscription and Google Workspace, which includes Gemini and NotebookLM. So for NotebookLM, definitely go to the IT shop and get the Google Workspace. So again, these are the only tools where you can put confidential, which is unpublished results, or licensed data, which are PDFs that you get from ETH library that are licensed. And again, here you have the promise that the data won't be used to improve their models. When we talk about the full text articles that you get from ETH Library has agreements in place with all of the big publishers, and these allowed use purposes are non-commercial research, teaching, and learning. This licensed media can't be used if the content is reused or shared in the process, and that means things like ChatGPT. So their exact rule, which depends on the publisher, is something like this licensed content may be used in a closed AI system, which is controlled locally, and that's what we have with this ETH Google Workspace. So if you have any questions, ask ETH Library. They're the specialists on this. So again, if you want to use licensed material, use the ETH NotebookLM. Okay, so onto the tool. When you open the tool, you see something like this, and this is the main interface where you create your notebook, and you can add, it says here, oh, I was on my private account, so I have 300 sources. Usually you see 50 sources, and you can upload them with drag and drop or like one at a time. You can input text, audio. If you put in an audio file, it will transcribe it, and you can query that with the LLM. That's pretty amazing. You can put in links to YouTube videos and websites. And as it is a Google tool, it works well with Google Workspace, so you have slides and documents. And these are the number of things. And the output looks like this. Once you input your sources, here I've put in, I'm interested in the effect of codon choice on translation rate. So I have a collection here. I see my sources here. here I have a summary, and here's the chat bot. I can start asking questions, and they give you some questions that can get you going. And then here you have all of the output you can have. You can have an audio overview, a podcast. It'll make a PowerPoint presentation, mind map reports, etc. So we can look at those one by one. The mind map looks like this, and I really like it because you put in 50 papers and you get an overview of the topic, not just one paper. And this is what it came from my Codon thing. I can look at the big picture and go down in granularity and see any granularity I want. And I like this because I get the overview of the big picture before I go down to the specifics. And quite often when we read papers, we're looking at something very specific. And I can click on any one of these and get a summary of this, and then I can query at that level. And another added plus here is that it'll help you find the relationships and the commonalities between these big groups of documents. And you can find links that you might not be obvious. And when I've used it, I have an organization in my head and it adds to the organization, like it gives you another way to look at something. So here I've clicked on one of these topics, regulation and dynamics, and I see a summary here, and then I have the citations. When I click on the citation, it goes to that paper and highlights what it used to make that decision. Then me as the user, I can look at it and judge whether I think that summary was correct or not. Okay, the fun thing is this podcast style discussion, which is really nice. The default is this lively conversation between two hosts, which I'll play at the end, but you can also do a brief, a critique, or a debate. A debate could be really helpful for students that have to face an oral exam where they might have to debate both sides of the question. So you can take their defaults, and for all of these outputs, you always have a box where you can put in text. You can prompt it to give exactly what you want, at what level of difficulty, and if you want it to act like a examiner, you can ask it to act like an examiner. The video overview creates a video like a PowerPoint presentation. The graphics aren't that great, but I think it could be really useful for students. If you have to give a presentation, you can help it. It'll help with the timing, how much information to put, and I mean, it'll give you the presentation basically, but I think it's not at the level of accepting it as it is, but there's a lot of help to be had in there. And then there's tons of other document output formats. You can get a brief, you can get a blog post, etc. The other thing that it does is create study materials. So you can put in your notes and it can make quizzes on that or flashcards if you want to use it. Like, how cool is that? And again, these are all customizable with text prompts. Okay, so I have two use cases. One of them is I put in 50 of my favorite podcasts so I can find that episode where this happened, and the other one was a lot of papers. And I use Zotero for my document management. They're importing into this NotebookLM is not that easy as it could be, I think. Importing one PDF at a time is tedious, and Zotero doesn't store in a traditional directory structure. So to get these into NotebookLM, I had to export it here. So if I go on my collection, right click, export onto my directory, my file system, then I have a directory and I can use the file manager to find all the PDFs in that directory. And then I picked up these and dragged them in. The other thing is my favorite podcast is Diary of a CEO. I don't know if anybody listens to that here, but he has a lot of playlists and I listen to the ones on health. So I found this YouTube to NotebookLM browser extension for Chrome. So you have to use it in Chrome, and then you can click on any level on the top level and or a playlist and get the first 50. So it'll import as many as it can up to 50, and then everything else is left out. And that let me query this playlist, like what what podcast was it that had a lady who was talking about dopamine and she wrote a book? I'm looking for the name of the book and it found the name of the book. It was Dopamine Nation. And another one, this is the text output. There's something about, I remember these vague things, like there was a lady talking about hormone replacement therapy and her daughter said she would take it. And I can query for that and it finds it, which I find amazing because you're always trying to recall what episode was that. So I'm going to summarize here before I do a quick show of the tool, but it's a great learning tool. The responsibility is on you. This is the how it looks down here at the bottom, even smaller than this. It says this NotebookLM can be inaccurate. Please double check its responses as a user. The burden is on you to make sure that what it's saying is correct. And there's a coffee lecture card, which I can make available in the chat. But first, I would like to show the tool. Just a second. So I'm going to get rid of this one. And here I'm in NotebookLM, and I'm going to go backwards. And we can see here, these are my notebooks. So when I did that import from my Diary of a CEO, it just created this notebook. We're going to look at this one, which are the papers from the ETH library. And I can make that full screen. And then you can see here, here are my sources. Here's the summary. And now I can do a chatbot down here and I can click any of these. It takes a little bit of time to generate the output. Let me get rid of this thing. Go away. And now I have like the audio overview. So I'm going to play a little bit of the audio overview. This is
simplicity. We're going to look at
the podcast. Do we hear that in the room?
how the code's redundancy, the fact that multiple codons mean the same amino acid, is anything but silent.
Exactly. That's the core idea. We're focusing on things like translational dynamics, codon usage bias, and something called...
Well, that's a pity. I'm going to play it as soon as I get out of the Zoom call. But yeah, you can see the banter between the two hosts on this podcast really makes it enjoyable. And that means you can take it on a walk. You can go on the treadmill. You can listen to your own notes in the car. One thing, when I go up here and click on my name, I can see it's the C Gina at ETHZ and managed by ETH, and then I know I'm in the protected data space. So that's really important. Okay, so yeah, this is not generated, so we can't do that, but I did do a molecular biology quiz on this output, and then you can see, according to the hypothesis proposed by one of these papers, what is a primary immunological function of that, and you have to do. So there's so many learning tools inside here. So with that, I will conclude. Are there any questions? Yeah?